Hello, we are Feint and Fumble. We will be playing War for the Crown in Pathfinder 2e. And, welcome. I'm Jay, I use they pronouns. I'll be the GM. If people want to, introduce themselves, that would be
Yeah,
me.
let's go in Discord order, right?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Aaron. I'll be playing Andrew's Ark, the fetchling wizard. Oh.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Eve. I use any pronouns. I will be playing Cyril Fargan, the half-elven monk.
Hello, I am Supreme. I am playing Kalen Ark, Andrus's younger brother. I'm playing a rogue to infiltrate and get up to shenanigans. I am he, him.
Hi, I am Jacqueline, or just Lynn. I'll be going by here. She, they, and I'll be playing Nieder bin Sukrir, the hobgoblin wizard who is seeking to climb up the social ladder and get revenge or vengeance for her dishonored family.
Yep. Hi, I'm Dave, he, him. I will be playing Sir Kelsey Rutherwood. I am a recently returned diplomat, having spent the last 10 years traveling around Tianjia and having a number of life-changing experiences.
Alright. We are in Taldor. Taldor is a nation to the east of the Inner Sea. It's over here. And it is a very old nation. It was founded after Earthfall. It was founded after Earthfall, and when by Aslanti refugees from the victims of Earthfall, and was created by the first Emperor Taldaris, who united the lands around the city of Apara, which is where we truly begin. Every year, Taldor celebrates a festival called the Grand Day of Exaltation. This is a day when the Grand Prince of Taldor elevates a commoner to the rank of nobility. The elevated commoner is selected months or years in advance, but the preceding week is a holiday throughout the empire. Our brave heroes are all in the city of Apara for the week leading up to this festival. And they have all been invited to a particular cafe near Senate Hill. The cafe is this is a small affair, slightly smoky inside, but finely decorated. And as you gather, how do we first see your characters? What do we see when we first see them? What assumptions might we make about them, or what might we have heard about them before? And we can go in Discord order in this as well, yeah. Unless someone wants to volunteer to go first.
I'll go first. So Andrus is reasonably well dressed, but he is trailing probably next to Cyril, and so he's sort of walking like a step to Cyril's side and probably a step behind. What sort of weather is the city like? What sort of weather are we looking at the moment? Is it hot, cold? Or?
Yeah, it's spring, so it's a relatively cool day, but it's not cold. It's just cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah, for those who know Andrus, they know that he does not like hot weather, and he tends to sweat a little bit more when it gets a little bit hotter. Probably because he likes to keep well dressed, even in the hotter climate. Um, what other information do you need to know?
Oh, just do they have any kind of reputation that people might know about them, or any assumptions people might make from looking at them?
Yeah, true.
They're a fetchling, right? They're like visibly.
Yeah, fetchling. Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to think of what other people would know about him apart from he's a footman who's assigned to Cyril, and Cyril being a nobleman, he is attached to him. The yeah, sorry,
Okay.
I'm having a blank.
No worries. Well, here is
Yeah.
Andrus's
Come back to
character
me.
arc.
I'll probably
Yeah.
get some.
Yeah.
Come back to me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Since we mentioned Cyril, shall we go to Cyril?
Yeah. Yeah, you probably see, Cyril walking, like a step in front next to Andrus. He's a little taller than Andrus, I'd say. Cyril is relatively tall, as maybe because of his half-elven heritage, because elves are pretty tall, I think. Cyril is a young man. You can see he's bald, or rather he's clean shaven, both his head and his facial hair. And but that's, I think, the only indication of him being a monk, though it is probably, at least in the I don't know how extensive like nobles gossip. I would imagine like there's a lot of gossip going around, but Cyril is from the house Fargan, which is a rather small noble house, so perhaps there's a little bit of talk. You might have heard that, Cyril is the eldest, son that of the current patriarch of that family, but he was sent away because his mother was an elf, and part humans aren't necessarily looked upon. Aren't unnecessarily liked in opera or in Andor in general, and probably because of that, like you probably heard, he was sent away. He's back. He's kind of yeah. There's probably just rumors about him fighting with his family members, but there's like nothing super concrete. He's kind of at court and like annoying people mostly. But since he was sent away to become a monk, he had to give up on his place in the line of succession. So he's in fact not really a danger, or he does not have any real influence. The only reason why he's there and why he resides with the nobles is because his father is the current patriarch and he wants him there. But in the end, Cyril has very little real power. And but in an attempt to make amends, his father, basically took him back after Cyril completed his, his, how do you say that?
Monk
His,
training?
not school. His training, basically, at the monastery. And he assigned him Andrus, who now is, Cyril's footman and probably closest, friend, acquaintance. I think Cyril considers him a friend. And, but apart from that, if you have heard anything about him, probably just that he's in the city, he just makes a mess of the things he gets involved in. And apart from that, he seems to be quite easygoing.
Alright. And what do we see when we see Kaylin.
Kaylin is. Sorry. Oh, I didn't save it. Kaylin is a. What's the race called again?
Fetchling.
Fetchling
Fetchling.
as well. Yeah, fetchling. Kaylin is also a fetchling, much like his obviously older brother. But a different fetchling. He is a wisp fetchling, so he stands a mere 1.2 meters tall and only weighs about 23 kilos, which is quite lightweight. He's got a bit of a dark aura about him. Those who don't know him and just see him may make the assumption that he's a bit of a bad sort to get along with. But anyone who does know him or anyone who may have heard of him, especially if someone's had dealings with the underground, may have heard that despite his appearance, he does have a code of ethics of sorts and does adhere to it regardless of the situation. And that he seems to mingle with the nobles despite not being a noble himself. Often getting up to no good at nighttime.
Alright. I think that brings us to Nita.
Yeah, Nita Binsukur is probably arriving a little bit afterwards, climbing up this hill with a sort of a permanently bitter and slightly squinting eyes, which are all a solid color, reminding one of amber or polished copper against her gray skin. She is a short, slightly shorter than human creature with wide ears, a wide face, and a big mouth full of sharp little teeth called a hobgoblin. She stands at about 5 feet something something inches in height and strides the street with a pride unexpected for a creature that looks so much like a monster to many in the city, and certainly she does get looks from the passersby. She carries herself with a pride and a dignity that is a bit unexpected from her demeanor. Across her nose is smudged soot, and on her, while her coat is quite of a fine make, a nice silk coat with fur trimming around the neck, with the sleeves rolled up for the heat. It is stained and faded from wear, from sun bleaching, and with various stains of burns and discoloration all around the spot, suggesting quite a bit of use. And she looks about with a expression of sort of disdain and a bitterness at all who pass her by, but carries herself forwards with a little copper-tipped cane that she walks along with. It seems more for the aristocratic styling than for any mobility need. But she wears thin little leather gloves on her hands and carries at her waist a variety of these arcane implements that mark her out quite clearly as a wizard. Though if anybody knows her, is familiar with her tale, they would recognize her as the former apprentice to the quite prominent and prestigious mage, her father, Zukrir Smoke. However, he has been not seen in court for quite some time, and there is a lot of talk of potentially a big trial coming up, or even an execution, which the common people lick their lips about, as any noble going to execution is bound to bring some scandal and salivation. She strides into the cafe with a bit of a flourish and strides to her seat.
Okay. And finally, we have Kelsey.
So Sir Kelsey Rutherwood, he's walking. He's quite a tall human, brown hair, brown beard, grey eyes. He's walking in a very relaxed manner, not rushing, as if he's got all the time in the world. Although because he's quite tall, his pace is kind of eating up the ground anyway. He's dressed in unusual clothes for the city. So he's actually dressed in what effectively is a silk kimono, but it's in kind of greens and golds with sort of accents of blue. So it's in the Taldor colours. And he's got a very well crafted wakizashi at his hip on one side and a dagger on the other. For anyone who's kind of a particular sort of martial bent, they might notice that he doesn't seem to be carrying it comfortably. So it's almost as though it's more of an accessory than something that he's comfortable using. He's a very changed man in the last 10 years. So anybody who might have known him before he went to Tianjia would maybe have remembered him as a very kind of quiet, withdrawn, very unconfident person, which is not the person who's walking up the street now. He's very self-assured, and kind of as he kind of walks into the cafe, he kind of does so in a way that's kind of recognizing his right to be there, and kind of casting a gaze around the room, and kind of that sort of quiet sense of confidence about him.
Alright. So,
I've got something now if you.
Hmm?
I've got something now. I can finish off the introduction
okay,
of my character
perfect.
if you like.
Perfect.
So yeah, Andrus Ark, he is raised from a young age to be a servant inside of his patrons, Cyril's family, particularly serving Cyril's father from a very young age, from like age of 8. He worked his way up through the ranks of the servants to become trusted amongst the family, and showed a lot of promise and skill in many different aspects of being a servant. Started out as in the scullery, where most servants do. Andrus Ark is a fetchling, but he is a different fetchling to his brother. Andrus Ark is what's classed as a deep fetchling, which means that his shadow is darker and deeper than others' shadows. He takes pride in his appearance. He often wears very crisp clothes, sometimes spending hours making sure all the creases in that are ironed out, and he looks. Everything about his appearance is exacting. Even the times that he looks a little bit miskept, it's because he wants to look a little bit miskept. He often uses magic to assist in his servantly duties, calling forth unseen servants and prestidigitations and mage hands and things like that. So it makes being a servant a little bit easier, but also it makes him stand out a little bit more. He's risen through the ranks of Cyril's family until Cyril returned home, and then he was made Cyril's footman, basically, which is so like their first servant. Not the footman as in a fighting footman, but just a footman as in a servant, somebody who just does everything and anything for that person. Those who know him knows that he also carries a harrow deck. It's a finely crafted harrow deck that he purchased a couple of years ago. Previous to that, he carried around an old battered harrow deck with cards missing that he scrawled in himself and made cards to fill the gaps. And every now and then he draws forth a card from the harrow deck to interpret a situation, but he doesn't very often provide an interpretation to anybody else. He just interprets it himself and then places it back into his deck. As he is moving towards the cafe, he is moving just to the side of Cyril and perhaps a step back, waiting to take Cyril's lead. And yeah, he's very alert, keeping an eye about him, and just he seems fairly at ease and fairly comfortable in the presence of other people.
Okay.
There you go.
Very nice. So as you enter the cafe, you are all soon waved over by this lady. Some of you may recognize her as Lady Martella Lotheed. To others of you, she is a relative stranger, and yet she has called you here to this cafe to meet with her and discuss a job she has for you.
I think at the sight of her, Nieder is going to approach in a bit of an offended sort of manner to go and confront her outright. Lotheed.
She blinks slightly and then says, yes. Hello, would you like to take a seat?
I would like to know why the hell you have called me here. After everything that you have pulled, everything that you and your damned family have done to call me here of all sorts, I should slap you with this glove at this moment.
Now, I do think we should hear this lady out.
Lady Lotheed,
You never know when Richard is...
Sorry,
you go.
Lady Lotheed, kind of raises her hands in a kind of peaceful gesture, like it's going to be okay. I'm not here to harm anyone, and says, "I understand that you will be concerned that I've called you here, Miss Nitra. But I believe that you," and she looks at the rest of you, all of you, will be very useful and in the upcoming mission I have for you. And I would hope that and I would hope that you would find doing some good in this city to be, or well, you'd find some place in your heart to help me do some good in this city.
Well, we all know the city needs some good, but why would we believe that you in particular would be interested in doing good in this city?
She looks down and says, "Will you please sit at this table? I would rather not discuss this where everyone can hear."
I'll slide forward and pull out a chair for Cyril.
Okay, I give Andres a look, and it has like a slight question in it, as in, are we really good? Like, are we really doing this? But then
I'll give a slight nod.
Then I sit down.
I proceed to sit.
And yeah, I do not thank him loudly, but like I give a nod.
I think Nieder, looking at these people already just going along, looks at Kelsey and gives them a quick little tap on the shoulder. You see actually probably not tap on the shoulders, it's a little bit too familiar, but yeah, it goes and you see, useful to her. The last person that was useful to her family has been shamed, dishonored, and betrayed. It is absolutely absurd. None of you should be trusting this woman. I swear to the high heavens, I want to know what it is you want here before I may well challenge you myself. Do not listen to a word this woman has to say.
What do we know about this lady that would indicate Knight is
You could
useless, I suppose?
you could do a society check, or if you have a relevant law skill, to recall knowledge
Society
on
advice.
what you know about her.
Is this a private check?
Yeah, it's a blind GM roll.
Okay.
Recall knowledge is always a blind GM roll.
Okay.
Alright.
I'm,
So
am I okay to do a
yeah.
law check?
Which law?
I was going to use Underworld.
That would
See
not be
what
applicable in
Underworld
this.
has to say about this lady.
Ah, right. I think you could do that, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else want to recall knowledge on Lady Martella Lotheed?
No, I mean, so Kelsey obviously knows of her through his sister.
Mm.
And so I think while everybody's recalling knowledge, I think Kelsey would kind of nod towards her. Well, my sister speaks highly of you, but clearly we need to understand the situation. You're very aware that I'm recently back from Tianjia, so I can certainly listen. I will do that courtesy, and he'll sit down.
Lady Martella kind of nods slightly sadly at you and says, "Yes, I heard about your father. I'm so sorry. I hope he recovers soon." So, Kaelin, you've heard that Martella Lotheed is a bastard. That's what you've heard. Andris, you know, you've heard that she is highly, she is, unlike the rest of her family, she is not inclined towards magic, but is inclined more towards engineering.
Mm-hmm.
As to her allegiances or anything else like that, neither of you have particularly good knowledge on that, I'm afraid.
Okay. And so, but she does have a noble title or something like that, is it?
Yeah.
Is she the daughter of, who's she the daughter of?
Yeah, she's the daughter of Martella Lotheed, the recently deceased Martella Lotheed, and the half-sister of Bartleby Lotheed, who is the new Lord Lotheed.
Okay.
So as the four of you are sitting down and Nita is still kind of standing up, kind of in a slightly aggressive. Would that be appropriate description?
Yeah, she's, I think glowering would be the word,
Mhm.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, she's sort of glowering at Martella and,
Mm.
leaning on her cane, very, trying to look very important and, imperious.
Yes. Martella kind of looks directly at Nita and says, "If you would sit down, I could explain that your hatred of my family is not exactly something I reject."
Do you reject the Lotheed name? Do you reject his family then? Is that not who you advocate for? Who you stand for? Your position in this matter?
She has a kind of pained expression on her face and says, I the last member of my family who cared for me is dead. I do not believe your father had anything to do with it. Unlike the rest of my family. I would have his name be cleared and the truth come out.
Still glowering, Nita goes and takes a seat, but she makes little gestures of "I'm watching you" at her. Beneath, I guess goblins don't blush red. She looks kind of purplish in her gray skin. Her face is a bit flushed with irritation. She sits quietly.
Alright. It's approaching lunchtime, so more people are filtering into the cafe. And yeah. Getting a bit of feedback. Yes, so
While the discussion goes on, sorry, I just want to say while the discussion's going on, I would be keeping an eye out for anyone or anything that may be trying to listen into us.
okay. Yeah, I think you can do a perception check here if you'd like. That's also a blind GM roll.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so as more people are filtering into the cafe, you don't notice anyone unusual at the moment. But Martella Lotheed begins to explain the situation. She has called you all here because she fears for the people of Opara. In the past century, large portions of the district of Eastport have been burnt to the ground in the aftermath of the Grand Day of Exaltation. She has reason to believe that this is not exactly an accident, but also that it might be happening again after this Grand Day of Exaltation. She wants you to investigate this and ensure that it does not come to pass. It's not exactly a wealthy district, so it's often overlooked by the law.
Which district? I'm sorry.
Sorry, Eastport.
East. Thanks.
Visibility on the map, I don't think, because we need to. I think you have to set it to have.
You should have visibility.
I can see it.
Yeah.
But you can see it?
Yeah, I
Maybe
can
that's
see the map.
me. Oh, okay. Then that's just me.
Huh.
I can use imagination.
Okay. Yeah, so Martella Lotheed. Sorry?
What makes you think these fires were not accidental?
There are, in the records I have searched, there's been indication of other hands at work. She leans in slightly to kind of whisper a bit closer. I have reason to believe that certain cults in the city may have been involved. I do not wish to speak to you openly about it, but you may. Sorry, I do not wish to speak to you openly about it, but you may be able to find more information here. And she slides you a piece of paper.
will take it.
Do you unfold it?
Yes.
Okay. So the piece of paper mentions an address in under the bridge, under the Grand Bridge of Empire, in an area known as Grand Bridge Vagabond Camp, which I believe Kaelin is somewhat familiar with, having worked there a couple times. Yeah, so if you wish to share this information, you can, obviously, you can. Otherwise, Martella will continue.
I'll show the paper to the other people at the table rather than speaking it out loud. Do you then suspect collusion with the city guard?
Martella frowns. I do not know. I think they are simply overlooking an impoverished area.
And what kind of motives would the cults have for burning the district of Eastport?
She shakes her head slightly. That I would like you to find out. I believe if we can discern their motives and somewhat their location, we may be able to strike against them and rid this city of a nefarious presence.
And what is in it for you?
The area, having worked there in the past.
Sorry?
I was just asking, knowing the area, having worked there in the past, is there any information that I may know that may give us a head start on the search for information?
Let me just find my right. Yeah, so it's underneath the bridge. It's kind of like a tent city. And it's got a lot of like vagabonds, criminals, but also runaway soldiers and refugees who haven't been able to find a place in the city that they can properly live. It's also known for people who've committed treason against Taldor have hidden there before they escape to other countries. So, yeah. And as for what Nita has said,
what is in it for you? And what, if we do you this favor, then what, you'll see my father returned unharmed?
She smiles kind of sadly and says, I will do my best.
Why should I trust you? Give me a reason. I do not want to trust you. Give me a reason. Your pretty face and your fine jewels. What about you is there to trust?
Martella's face sort of hardens and she says, trust that we have the same enemy, my brother Bartleby. He is the one who instituted your father's arrest. He is the one who banned me from my home.
If you do not follow through, I will see you wretchedly torn apart, and I will see the ashes scorched.
Martella inclines her head slightly and says, If you find that to be necessary, I'm sure we can. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, now, I don't think such measures, drastic measures, are needed. I do believe that we can probably all walk out of this quite happy with our desired results. I can potentially also help um, get your brother out from under Bartleby if needed.
My father.
Sorry, father.
Yes. We will see if such extreme measures are needed. But in this city, there is one thing that your sort understand. It is violence. I hope it will not come to that. Very well. I will find your cultists and see them dealt with.
Yes, we shall.
All right. Okay. So, as you,
Is everybody on board there? Anybody else got questions?
yeah. Any more questions or anything?
I mean, I think as soon as we like step out of the cafe and like,
Mhm.
yeah, are no longer with Lady Lotheed, I turn to Andrus and I ask him, "What do you make of this? I have heard that, yeah, Martella Lotheed does indeed, yeah, is indeed kind of scorned by her own brother, but you know way more of the dealings of the court than I do. So, what do you think?"
Yes, I find it curious the ire thrown towards this lady from Nita. I could not ascertain the reasoning for such poor treatment of a noble lady, unless of course Nita holds title, but I did not think that she did. It is an interesting turn of events, but when a lady such as Lady Lotheed asks you for a favor, it is always a good idea to accept. It can then ingratiate yourself to her for perhaps later advantage.
Well, aren't you ever generous? All right. Yeah.
She's known. She's known to my sister. Um, uh, they are both alumni of the Sonora Academy. Uh, they they they've corresponded over the years, and my sister has told me she holds her in good regard. And while I'm not especially close to my sister, she does have a good eye for people and their uh, trustworthiness. So I think for myself, I will trust her until she proves otherwise. But I must admit, I don't know. I've not been back in the city long, so I don't know the background for your issues with her, Nita. Um, uh, what's the situation with your father?
I shan't. She goes and gives you a look up and down. He has been dishonored and shamed by her family. Crimes he has not committed. He has been languishing among the cells of the Lotheed family. And now I receive a letter from Martella Lotheed with fine handwriting in the human style, asking for my support, when last it was my father's support that landed him in their clutches. My personal business with her, I suppose, is none of yours, and if you are already ingratiated with her through your wealthy sister, then it's your own problem. Just find these cultists, and I will see if you are worth any spit.
Nita, could you perhaps have made terms with the lady for the release of your family member in return for this paltry task?
Yes, I believe that is what I've just done.
Oh, you did.
Uh,
Sorry, I was
yes.
distracted.
She
Oh,
does not.
Assist and if need be, I'm ready to assist.
Well, it is a generous offer, stranger. Are we going to stand around all day and let the heat cook us all and end up looking like boiled chickens?
No, I suppose this is bad for my skin, so I rub my bald head. Suppose you want to take a
Under
look?
the bridge is a
Sorry?
city of tents, so to speak, where a bunch of runaways and criminals and the scum of the city are hiding. We may be able to go there and find some information.
Yeah, so you could head to the Grand Bridge Vagabond Camp. You could head to Eastport and look around there. You have a number of options at your disposal.
Tuck the piece of paper and say, well, we have a lead here. I suggest we follow it.
Yes, let's.
Yeah. I'm on board with that.
Did the lady say that these actions were done last year as well during the event?
Yeah, so in the past century it's happened a few times. And she's worried it's gonna happen this year as well.
All right. Well, yeah. I'm just gonna probably go and smoke her pipe as she walks, puffing away at it, and trying to avoid making conversation with the humans. Keep asking her some very personal questions. Fetchlings and humans, but
They were all the same.
Close enough.
short ears, all the time.
We all look the same.
Yes, all you hairy, strange hairy creatures. It's disgusting. They're covered in little fur.
Hey, I just want to say I'm completely bald shaven and I have pointy ears, so.
6-year-old does actually look a lot like a goblin, which is a bit confusing for Nader. This person looks a lot like a weird half hobgoblin or something.
Who knows?
Alright. So
We'll head to the place.
sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Oh, we're just gonna head to the place, I think.
Oh, okay. So you heading down Senate's Hill towards Imperial Square and then up past Memorial Park and onto Grand Bridge. The Grand Bridge of the Empire, which was built 3,000 years ago and remains impressive even today, paved with delicate mosaic tiles. So as you head through the city, you would take in the sights and sounds of the festival being prepared for the Grand Day of Exaltation, which should be held on Sunday. It's still called Sunday in Galarian. So yes, you have effectively 4 days before this fire will supposedly occur.
yeah, so just to clarify, what's the in-game date?
Oh, it's the 14th of Callistrol. If it would help, I can spell that.
No, that's fine.
Okay, cool. So, when you get to the section of Groundbridge that overlooks the camp, you can hear the sounds of people chattering away, and you can smell the smoke of open fires where people are cooking or just trying to keep warm. And you can also smell the smells of refuse and rubbish that hasn't been cleaned up at all, because it's not an official part of the city, and therefore street sweepers don't go here. Then there'll be like a little set of steps in one of these struts that you can climb down to get to the base of the bridge and explore the camp.
What sort of beings are in this sort of camp? Like, what kind of creatures and people?
Yeah, it's like most of the city. It is mostly humans, but and they're mostly Taldane, but there are also some Kadiran humans. There are half orcs, goblins, the ancestries who are kind of looked down on in Taldor also will be present here. Yeah. Yeah. It's a mostly human city, like by a wide margin. It's mostly human, and yeah, everyone else is kind of spread out, but with a slightly higher concentration in this district. It's an unofficial district.
You know, I'm dressed to get tea with a normal lady, not to, go into a bandit camp. I feel like I might not be welcome wearing this. And I like gesture towards, at least relatively fancy clothes I'm wearing. Like, definitely not monk attire.
I would like to. I would like to, if I can, assist anyone here that looks out of place for such an area, to see if I can help them look the part before entering the under the bridge.
Okay. Yeah. I think you could. Do you have any like supplies or anything to disguise people?
So I do have some fake blood that I can use to like bloody them up a bit. Otherwise, I was thinking along the lines of like, with the permission of each individual, scruffing up or messing up hair a bit, or applying dirt to either skin and or clothes, to make it that even if they're wearing nice clothing, it looks like they've been wearing it for a long time and they're not really nobles whilst walking through this area.
I think
Champion idea. Kelsey will mutter a few words and will cast prestidigitation, and he'll be doing it in the opposite direction that it's normally done. So he'll be using that to add some grime to his clothes so that the gold looks duller and a few stains, and he'll do that.
All right, nice.
I think Nieder is going to refuse Kaelin's offer of making them look less put together and stuff, and they make a point of dusting themselves off and going and scuffing their boot a little bit to get the street goo off of their boots. They carry themselves with a good bit of pride, though they do roll up their sleeves. I guess it's fucking hot.
It's a really nice offer. what was your name? And I look at Kaylin, who I think I've actually not been introduced to any of you. I am Cyril
Name's
Fireman. Andres, is that the Kaylin you talked about? You're like, he's a little shorter
This is
than.
my younger brother. I'm sure that I've spoken about him before, but this is he in the flesh.
Yes.
And I do a bow, but I do it like a very floppy, kind of like a sarcastic kind of bow. Like
Yeah.
overly dramatic kind of thing.
Andrews presses his lips together tightly.
You can see me grinning though, and I just nod and say, yeah, I've heard some. Andres doesn't talk about you much, but I've heard some. I mean, he doesn't like to talk about what you do, but I think I can gather. Do you like?
I couldn't imagine why.
No, I can. Um, thank you for your nice offer. Do you perhaps have a code or anything I can? I don't know. I would feel so bad ruining this, and I gesture to the very wild and brightly colorful stuff I'm wearing.
I mean, I've got some alcohol and you can just get sloshed drunk, and I'm sure you'll still fit right in if you like.
Oh, but I'm gonna get robbed. But even though I don't have any gold on me, by the way, but like, yeah. All right, just
I can offer.
dirt me off. And
I can assist with that and with the cleaning afterwards.
True, magic might be able to save this.
I'll do the same thing on Cyril's clothes.
Yeah,
and I'll kind of look over to Nita, who's brushing themselves off, say, I suspect you're not quite so overdressed as we are. I think you'll be fine.
I think I am quite well dressed, but I will see that I am not going to dirty myself in my good coat for. And they will look down on me, whatever I am wearing. I'm sure.
That might be true.
So I'll look over to Kaylin and said, so it sounds like you're familiar with this area. Perhaps you would guide us to this address.
I've been here once or twice. I think I can do that.
Best not to linger, I suspect.
No. And I'll proceed to lead the way best I can.
Okay. So it is an address, but because it's kind of like a tent city, that is a bit problematic. There are streets, mud streets, which were historically had buildings on them and now do not have buildings but have tents and other things, other kind of temporary shelters. And yes, as you. So no, you go.
I was gonna say, I was kind of picturing if you've ever seen like Vienna, they've got these big sort of dry canals most of the year that just sort of that you can just walk right through that look like big empty city streets. But maybe this is kind of an old canal that's been overtaken. Bridge.
Yeah, that's kind of what I had in my head.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, so you're making your way through the camp, and you do some of you get eyed a bit, like, why are you here? You look a bit posh, Nita. And also Andres, because you're quite like put together as a wealthy person's servant. They think that's a bit unusual for you to come here. But no one. It's the middle of the day. No one's going to actively accost you. So you do arrive at this address, And there are. Sorry.
Oh no, never mind.
And there are some smaller tents around a kind of shack made of like driftwood and bits of old crates and things like that.
This is the address that was on there. Like,
This
did it have
is
like
an
a
address?
specific? Yeah, is it the specific address within this district or like this?
It's like the name of a street, and you can see that the old street sign is there. But there's not like a house number or anything like that. No.
Okay.
Do I know like whose place this is, by any chance?
I think you could do your underworld law check. Recall knowledge. You do not know.
Well, this will be interesting.
I'm gonna cast detect magic.
Let's go in
uh,
here and find out.
before going in.
Okay. As you begin to cast a spell, you see some people emerge from some of the small tents. There's a hobgoblin and an orc, and they're kind of because so when you cast a spell, it's generally speaking, you have to speak in a strong voice, so it's audible and visible while you're casting a spell.
Her casting is very much, she goes and raises her little copper tipped cane, and
Mhm.
it's very focused on the hands, the very
Mm.
precise hand gestures and whatnot. It looks almost like a very skilled musician performing their instrument. She goes and moves through each step very precisely. And speaks her words.
Yeah. Nice. And as you're casting the spell, you do assume it's attract attention of the guards to this shack, the hobgoblin and the orc. And they kind of glower at you slightly, especially the hobgoblin.
Yeah, Nita's gonna go and bare her fangs a little bit at the hobgoblin and turn back to what she's doing.
So wait, they are guarding
I
the
feel
area.
like I would.
Are they like city guards?
No, like they are specifically guarding that area.
That'd be.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I muted myself.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah, they're not city guards. They seem to be mercenary types, or not necessarily official mercenaries, but toughs. If you see what I mean.
Are they guarding
I
where
would.
you're wanting to go? Sorry, Supreme. Started talking.
Yes, Jay. They're
Mhm.
just asking if these guards are guarding the general area or guarding the tent that we're interested in.
The one you're interested in, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
They are looking at us,
I
but they
feel
aren't
like
approaching us. Or
No, not
sorry.
yet.
Okay.
I would probably half approach them. Like I take a couple of steps forward to show them that yes, I am wanting to speak with them, and
Mhm.
I'll let them know, disregarding the casting behind me at the moment, just letting
Mhm.
Nida do Nida's thing. I would slightly approach them to say, we're here to speak with the person who's within this tent.
All right. The orc woman says, "Oh, you know. And what business do you have with him?"
Information gathering on a thing that we've been asked to look into. We've been told this is the place to go.
She kind of narrows her eyes at you a little bit, and then says, "Alright." Then she nods at the hobgoblin, who kind of heads into the building, into the shack, to try and presumably to let them know. Nita, you don't detect any magic.
We are clear.
Clear what? I seem to like not understand magic at all.
There. Are any of you familiar with the arcane arts? Any of you?
I know magic's a thing.
Consider me an amateur with interest in them. No formal training.
What I do there is I send a pulse of magic. It is in the broad spectrum, known as it's a universal cast, which within the divination school and any magic it is found responds. It is like it's hard to explain in mundane terms, where magic is truly a thing beyond outside. But suffice to say, there are no magical effects in effect in this area. You're not walking into a den of demons.
That's good to know.
And she smiles a little bit. Thank you. Everybody else, are we ready to head inside the place?
Waiting for the guard to come back.
I'd be waiting for us to be invited in.
The hobgoblin does return, and kind of nods at you, then gestures to the shack and says, "You can go in."
Okay.
I would like to guide the party in, if we can. And as soon as I'm in the tent facing the person we're going in to see, I'd like to do introductions. Basically, like a kind greeting kind of thing is what I would expect in these parts. Introducing myself and the fellow party members as best I can. Obviously, I don't know everyone's names yet, but I do so to the best of my abilities.
Okay. So when you enter, you see a kind of large it's not quite a table, it's more like two barrels with a big plank of wood over them. But it's evidently an attempt at an imposing desk. And behind it, making it a bit more imposing, is a large half-orc, who is fairly pale. And yeah, kind of sitting, leaning back on their chair, arms crossed, looking at you. And yeah, you can make your introductions.
I'm sorry. I think like either my internet or you cut off there for a sec.
Oh, which
how
bit?
does a person? How does a person look like?
I think that was.
Sorry. A half-orc who's quite pale and quite large, and has kind of arms crossed, and is looking at you from behind this large desk, makeshift desk.
I see.
And yeah, if you want to make introductions, you can do that.
I was kind of hoping to do so with a diplomacy check to see if I can get in their good graces straight off the bat.
Yeah, I think you can do that. You can do make an impression.
Yeah. So that's just a diplomacy check, isn't it?
Yeah.
Blind?
No, this is open, because you'll know if they like you or not.
Open?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, as you begin to make introductions, the half-orc kind of raises their hand and says, "You want information?"
Yes.
Then just completely interrupts you and says that, "Who sent you?"
Do
We
I
are.
feel like it's a good idea to share that?
That would be up to you to figure out.
Yeah, can I do a sense motive to kind of get a feel for how they're disposed to us?
I think Neater probably actually no. Yeah, it should not come to her because then that she is not going to make a good decision on this matter. You ever play those like in The Walking Dead? If you don't make a decision, the worst outcome is going to happen. And that's I'm going to try to do the diplomacy.
I'm trying to get just like a read on their sort of demeanor, kind of
Yeah.
where they are. Is that a blind perception?
Yeah, you can do that. Okay. This half orc is quite impassive. It's difficult to get a read on them.
So I'll kind of just sort of, I'm kind of naturally sort of, without even thinking about it, kind of just sort of step forward half a step and kind of give him a nod and yes, maybe someone of mutual acquaintance, Lady Martella Lotheed. We are looking into some potential issues around Eastport, and they suggested you might have some information that may support those investigations.
The noble bastard sent you, I see. Well, I suppose.
And apologies for our rudeness. I'm Sir Kelsey Rutherwood. May I have your acquaintance?
Name's Grandax. That's spelled like Grandax. And then Grandax kind of says, the noble bastard sent you, I suppose. Do need to, well, looks out into the distance for a moment, and then says, "What information you want?"
She's her research has led to some concerns around excessive fires in Eastport area following the Grand Day of Exaltation. There's some concern that these fires are not accidental. There's a historic trend, if you like.
Yeah, there's how should I put this? There's a lot of, well, it's not quite as down market as Westport. upmarket as Westport. Which, you know, is, if you know, Westport is like very interesting statement because Westport is quite down market. Yeah. So Grand Axe continues. It's not quite as upmarket as Westport, but there are a few places of importance in Eastport. There are the sorry. Just had to cough briefly. There are the I've lost my notes. Sorry. Yeah. There are the places run by the Marquis, and there are the places run by the subversives. Those who want your noble types to, well, don't want to have them around here no more.
A fine crowd.
Grendax kind of grins slightly and says, "You're an appreciator of the subversive cause, then?"
Well, I can appreciate their hatred, at least. It is, it is certainly an agreeable, or easily agreeable one. Can I make a society to see if I recognize who this Marquis they're talking about would be?
Yeah. Society or underworld law would actually be good here as well.
Okay. I will go with society because I got big brain, and that's what I'm good at. Ooh. That's gonna be a
Am I okay to do
24.
Oh, it should be a blind roll in the future, but yeah.
Oh.
Because it's a recall knowledge. But no worries.
Yeah.
Am I okay to do the underworld law?
Mhm.
Alright.
I have to say, open rolls are definitely a lot more fun to see the big number.
I like not knowing, eh?
Yeah, I feel like you end up knowing the results anyway, pretty easily, and you get to see the numbers, so you get to see all the plus ones and stuff add up, which makes it more satisfying, I find, with any sort of stuff, being able to see all of the stuff you put into it contributing.
Okay, so Nita, you've heard of the Masked Marquis. A Masked Marquis is apparently, where's my mouse gone? Right, is a kind of mysterious thieves guild leader who is apparently very secretive, but also very powerful.
I might be able to guess. If they are a cultist, I think I might know what they're a cult of. Out of character. In character, I don't. Okay. So part of this area is run by this thieves guild, this secret society thieves guild, and the other part's run by the subversives. Okay. And you speak of the Masked Marquis, the leader of this thieves society, yes? I throw that in as a little flex of being streetwise.
Yeah, Grandax says, Yeah, I do. You pal. You seem to know a
I
lot
am
about
familiar.
these. Sorry.
I am familiar with that thing.
Mm.
She kind of stands a little bit proudly.
Mm-hmm.
What do we know of these subversives?
Well, there are people who oppose the whole system of nobility and royalty in Taldor. But you don't know a great deal about them, I don't think. Although you could recall knowledge to see if you can think of anything particular. Noble law or labor law would probably be good here, I think. I don't think anyone has noble law, do they?
No.
No? Okay.
Noble lore is a thing. There's like genealogy. I guess you'd have to manually take it because the noble one gives you genealogy or heraldry.
Yeah, I could have had that, but I've not been here for quite a while, so I think I don't know shit.
Yeah, I mean, I could try a society check.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll throw in a society too. Why not? That's a blind GM.
Yeah.
Whee! Here's all those dice rolled.
Alright. So. That was Cannon's underwater. Right, so, Kelsey, you are somewhat aware that the subversives reportedly meet around the Grand Bridge area and have a particular kind of pattern on the mosaics of the bridge that they tend to kind of walk on that pattern, and that kind of signals different things to the different members of the subversive groups. So if you could figure out that pattern, you might be able to contact them.
And I'm guessing Nita doesn't learn anything.
No, Nita isn't really sure about the subversives.
Okay. What else do these? Yes, and you suspect that it is one of these two groups who are setting these fires. Then, Grand Axe.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
And you suspect that one of these two groups is setting these fires. Now, Grand Axe.
Well, the Marquis has fingers in every pie, and the subversives have never been fond of this exaltation, of the exaltation. They think it serves only to, well, keep the populace, what's the word, docile.
Well, fair enough, but I do feel like if that's their problem, then setting fire to specifically Eastport seems very destructive without... well, who am I to suspect, but it just doesn't seem like the right place to attack, but...
Have there been...
Seems counterintuitive.
Have there been crackdowns against the subversives in the wake of these fires?
Grendax kind of shrugs a bit and says, most people don't bother to investigate the fires.
It's unlikely they're being framed. Stupid little rabble. Well then, seems like finding subversives will find us our targets.
one feels, however, that they would, if the subversives were performing arson, that they're more likely to try to set fires north of the river in the noble districts.
Hmm.
Yeah.
In any case, they may still have information.
Hmm.
Could still be worth reaching out to them, even if they're not the ones doing it.
Yes.
Especially if they're not the ones doing it, actually.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We should get moving and find these subversives. Do we have? Is there any known location to speak to them? Herr Grandax.
Yeah, like the
Contact them.
I meant besides the mosaics, like if
Oh,
there's
okay, right.
a known,
Um.
a known dude that you can talk to.
Let's see. Yeah, there might, if you could get an audience with her, there might be, where's her location again? Yeah. So there's a noble, well, not a noble, a profiler of nobles. She's actually a history professor at the Rhapsodic College, which is over, where is it? Just this one. And her name is Karina Ignatus. She is apparently something of a, so she writes biographies of nobles, and it's recently been found out she's also been writing very unflattering biographies of nobles. So she could be someone who has a grudge against nobility that could possibly have, that also has lots of information about nobility. Sounds like the kind of thing that the subversives would be interested in.
But like, how do we? That's like the only connection we make between those two. Like, we don't have any actual. Or like, how did she come up? Like in the conversation.
She's someone that you've heard of who
Okay.
would be interested in, who might be interesting to the subversives or might be involved with the subversives.
Okay. Well, that should be plenty to go on. If there's nothing else, I think I will get to finding these scoundrels.
Yes. Thank you for your information, Grandax.
Grendax smiles slightly and says, "Well, I expect you'll have to return the favour someday. Keep in contact."
Gladly.
Peter inclines her head. Yalla salam ba. In just giving a little greeting in her usual tongue. Or a farewell.
And
Takes her leave.
I'll mention my name's Kale. Something of service I can do. Reach out through your contacts. I'm sure you can find a way to locate me. Ever step out.
Okay.
I just give a little bow and say, yeah, he can probably also hook you up with me if you ever need me for anything, but I don't disclose what you could actually need my skills for, so I just, give a little nod and then I leave.
Okay. All right. So as you step back out into the street, the hobgoblin and orc guard who are waiting outside kind of eye you a bit suspiciously, and but then they kind of nod at you and allow you to continue off.
I return the nod.
Let's do it.
Nita gives a slightly rude little squint at the hobgoblin.
Mm-hmm.
I think that perhaps we should split up. One group can seek out this professor, and another could seek out these mosaics.
It seems a reasonable split of effort.
If one of us should fail, if one group should fail, then, well, at least the other will succeed. Or might.
And how will we find each other after the fact?
What hour of the day is it?
It's like early afternoon.
When the sun is past, what's a what would be like a prominent landmark the sun might be next to at some point?
Imagine if there's a landmark that's raised kind of like above the city, like Imperial Square or Seven Towers or something like that.
Yeah.
Something that can be seen by most of the city.
Yeah, so Araden's View District maybe. Or Worldbreaker Hill.
Yeah.
Worldbreaker Hill, because that's very dramatic.
Perhaps once the sun touches Worldbreaker's Hill, then we can gather together again and at this intersection.
Perhaps somewhere north of the river might be best at that time. Maybe
I would.
What are the two?
Sorry, you finish up.
I was going to recommend the corner opposite Memorial Park. Should be easy for us all to find.
To meet again, or?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
And should one group encounter some troubles on their path, how would we best handle that?
And competently, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I have history with coming into trouble, so I would just like to make sure that we are all covered on that front.
I mean, I also have history with getting into trouble, but I've never had problems getting out of it just because. Well, that doesn't matter, but like I don't know how to ensure our safety if we should encounter any differences.
I can't imagine we'll meet too much trouble watching mosaics on a bridge and visiting a professor of history.
Yes, and I am more than capable of protecting myself. I have many talents of the arcane arts.
Not a problem. Then we shall split up and go the two separate ways and see what we can find out. And we'll meet up back here when the sun meets the hill.
Right.
I think it's only logical for me to speak to the academic, as I do not sense much erudition in your demeanors.
Oh, Andrews is smart.
I believe best I not go to the academic.
I'm happy to watch the bridge.
Well, Andrews and I are probably not splitting up, right?
Oh, we can if you like. Perhaps you should attend with Nita to talk with this professor, and I shall accompany Kaelin and Sir Kelsey to the bridge where we may have a chance to talk to the more common folk. As you know, I can speak to them on an equal ground and perhaps win their trust and glean some information that way.
All right, then you look after your brother, and yeah, then I'll speak to the professor of history. Oh yeah.
You look after
I'm
me,
sure
I'll
you
be
will.
I mean, I leave that.
Andrew just gives a laugh.
I leave that one open to interpretation. And then
But before
well
we
then.
adjourn, perhaps I could give an alternate avenue of attack. Instead of lurking around the bridge, just meandering, hoping that trouble finds us, or some of these subversives find us, perhaps we should move to Eastport, where we could talk to some of the more downtrodden, those who are under the shackles of the nobility, so to speak, and may express brotherhood with the subversives. That makes sense.
Perhaps not the best place for me, however. Even with this dirt, I still feel I will stand out.
Very well, and then
Yes,
perhaps
I feel like that
Sir
would be
Kelsey
best
could
handled by
lurk
me
upon
if
the
we were
bridge,
good.
and me and my brother could head to Eastport.
We can do that.
I have
Wow.
a particular ruse in mind.
Oh, come along, Egg.
I give you an incredulous look because people don't really speak to me like that. But then I
Before you
kind of grin and like say, "Sure, potato."
before you do, however, maybe and I'll clean your clothes again. Best to put on a good front at the college.
And I'm like, yes, can you maybe clean me up?
Yes. Take but a moment.
Nita smiles a very toothy grin at the reaction. Yeah, at a closer inspection, you can see each one goes and tapers down to a little, a sharp little point like a shark's.
That is kind of unsettling, but I still smile back, or at least smile at you.
She's not very good at smiling normally.
It's alright, I'm very good at it.
Right, yeah, that is probably
Yeah.
folks saying in the chat, that seems like a good place to wrap up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah. This was episode 0, I guess. And yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For
That was a
the
lot of
Emmy.
fun.
That was really
Okay.
fun.